boys and girls, welcome back to Factorio Space Age. And we almost are there. 99% on strong explosives, number 20, which means 200% bonus. But we flatlined with our research. And I had a look, and the reason is several of our ore fields have run out, and I think the one that's detrimental is the coal here, with trains waiting here, while I have set up another coal field down here. And one down here. This one is purely for fueling, but we also run out of copper up here. Yeah, this one is now disabled, but that also means we only have one this station here for copper, which might not be enough, though currently there are no trains waiting. Trains are on the way, so I think because we're lacking here, well, it's agricultural science, but if we look here on top where we deliver it, it's full of spoilage, and that's because the train is stuck here waiting, going for the refueling. And I think the refueling station here, there is a long waiting line on that one, because there was a coal train trying to refuel and then go to the coal field, which did not accept any trains, and it just sat there waiting. So that's that. Hopefully this is now fixed. Yeah, looks like the train is now on the way to the refueling, and we should see this come to an end. And as you can see, I set up the railgun shooting speed to research next. First view should be pretty quick, 1,000, 2,000. That's no big deal, because with this setup we are now at research of 2,800. So we should get there pretty quickly, but this 8 millions, that took quite a few days. For our spaceship that goes to Aquila, and in the meantime we have 3 of those, and they seem to do the job pretty well. When one leaves at Aquila, the next arrives there to constantly ship and load materials, because we want to have the science production supply limited by the amount we are producing, and not necessarily by how fast we can move them from Aquila or any other planet to Nauis, where we are doing the research. And for those spaceships we dabbled a bit with quality, so we can get better astro collectors that have more arms, larger area, more speed, and we have their epic ones. But in the meantime, we also researched the legendary tier of quality. So I think we want to look into that, and while doing so, we probably also should think about what can help us on the way in going beyond Aquilo to the edge of the solar system, which is the first step. But then we also need to make our way at least part way towards the shattered planet, because we need the materials that we can find there, the Prometheum asteroids, and if we look here, this is the graph of the distribution of what we can find there, and you can see the far out we go, the tendance is decreasing. However, the huge ones, those are the dominant ones here. So I'm probably thinking we want to invest in the collectors being fast, being having as many arms. Then we might also look into crushers. Crushers can have better speed, so maybe that does not really matter that much. But what we can think of in that area is how can we better control which of these crushing approaches we are following, so that we can actually use the crushers not only for one type of asteroids but for multiple ones, depending on what we need at that moment. And then we probably also want to look into how we manage our propulsion, because the faster you go, the better your defense has to be, so you can shoot down any asteroids. And the slower you go, the more chances you have to shoot down those asteroids. So maybe let's also have a look here at ammunition. We using the yellow one, and that without all the bonus upgrades has 5 plus 9, so let's call that 14. And the next upgrade is the red one, which is 8 plus 14, that's 22, but it requires two yellow firearms. So basically here we have 14, and two with two magazines we can then basically double that up, and we are at 28. So I don't really think red magazines are the way to go. Here with the rockets, there it's a bit less decisive, because we have the damage plus the explosion, and we have that here as well. And basically explosion means that you damage things in the vicinity of what you're aiming at, and that could be beneficial if we go farther out and the asteroids get denser and denser, because then we are not only damaging what we're shooting at, but everything around that. Not sure. I don't think we need that on the way to towards Aquila. or towards the edge, but maybe going beyond. And then of course we will have the railguns. We will need the railguns. They do quite a bit of damage, but they are also not that easy to produce, but also not that hard. I mean, this is really a late game weapon, and if we look at this is basically pretty similar to what we have for rockets. However, we are now dealing with huge asteroids, and huge asteroids have health. Those are chunks. Let's have a look here. Have a base health of 5,000. And basically, even with 200% upgrade, rockets are just no match there. But even at the base level, one railgun shot can destroy 2 huge asteroids. So there we will be good on that side of things. And we will also, if we look at this setup, we will need something different, because we have to squeeze in the railguns. We still need to fit in the turrets in a manner so that they can shoot things down before they reach the ship. We need to have asteroids, and those are basically all things that need to be at the outer edge. We also need our rockets. Well, maybe if we look here, gun turrets, if we have better quality, we can increase the range of the turrets, and that could be something. Yeah, I'm not sure if we need it for the rockets, but if we think we would have basically a layer here in front for the railguns, then we basically only have a thin slither that's in the radius of these turrets, and especially these back ones even less so. So maybe quality gun turrets might be a thing here. And then here we have nuclear power. But if we look at this one, we are not really using all that much power. So I'm thinking we will probably be better off with 1 or 2 fusion reactors that can get us up to 100 to 200 megawatts. That should be sufficient. And then this probably just needs to be bigger, because we also need to produce the railguns. So what else might we want to consider here? Engines? Well, if we have better quality engines, they consume more, which would then also mean they produce more thrust. but that's not necessarily something that would help us. What would be beneficial is basically a better ratio here, where for the same amount of fuel we get more thrust. Let's see on production side. We have these. Better quality means higher speed. Not sure that that helps us that much. Chemical furnace, there it's similar picture. And then we have the foundry. Yeah, there it's also speed aside from base hulls, but base hulls, that does not really matter that much. We could also upgrade the solar and accumulator side of things, but I think if we have fusion reactor, we should not really need anything of that sort aside from kickstarting that thing. And of course we would run into trouble if we run out of fuel, because but then I think that would be the end of that ship anyway, because it's dead in the water, with just too many asteroids bombing onto the ship. So let's see what we can do down here, adding a few more setups for recycling and production, so we can get some things in legendary quality that really helps us along the way. We do have the setup for the best quality gun turrets and collectors. However, we have not produced any because they need quite some input materials. And the way we approached this was, on the one side, through recycling anything that is just not up to our quality standard, but then also crafting everything on that level from quality ingredients of that same level. And thinking about it, it's usually better if you can craft it directly from the quality ingredients, then you have a 1-to-1 ratio, because if you're recycling, there is always a certain percentage that you lose. So with that in mind, maybe I will add a few more recyclers that basically recycle the base materials in the hope we get top tier copper, iron, plastics, and so on. And that then should be good enough input for all these machines, so we can craft the best stuff there is. But as usual, this will take a while, as will this research. I have queued up now railgun damage up to level 10, and then thinking ahead what else would be beneficial for the future. I'm thinking physical projectile damage for our yellow ammunition, but then also mining productivity, maybe also asteroid productivity, so we get more out of our asteroids. I think those are the three areas I will focus on once this research is done. There is one more thing that we need to do, and this is on Aquila, because for our spaceship that we will hopefully have in the next episode, we will need railguns, and we need to produce them somewhere. Figuring out where I can squeeze that in. Maybe here on this side. That might work. Oh no, that's the wrong thing. But well, we could have it here because we will need the fluoroketone as an input. Or yeah, we have one connection here, which will be sufficient. We will need some input and some output. We also need some chests. And request a chest. How do they stack? We don't want to produce too many. Stack size 10. Maybe if we have 20 here to go, that should be sufficient. A bit of power here. Yeah, we deliver everything that we need. And then we should be able to produce the railguns here. And we will set up or build the spaceship in a Navis orbit, but we will pass by Aquila, where we then can equip the railguns. There's no need to ship railguns to Navis to build the ship and then go all the way back towards Aquila and beyond. But with that said, we are at the end of today's episode. I will have to deal with the situation where we really need more input materials for these quality goods, so we can then next time start on producing and designing our spaceship with which we can leave our solar system. Until then, goodbye.